of these things is not like the others. One of these things doesn't belong. Can you tell which thing is not like the other by the time I finish this song?
Thank you very much. This is fantastic. Glad to be here. Thanks to Young America's Foundation for putting this together. Very pleased to be here with my wife, Debbie. Want to say hi? Not to refute him, but to say, as I'm listening to him talk, it occurred to me, wow.
Get the fuck out of here, man.
Yeah. All right. All right. See, this is the acceptable bigotry of the left. This is the acceptable bigotry of the left in which you have this lousy beneficiary of white privilege, right? Now, if he knew an ounce of history, he would sit here, listen to me, and stand up and ask a question that will show me up. But he won't do that. He won't do that because he's a thug. He's a thug who wants to shout me down. That's all he knows how to do. This is actually my topic for today, the breakdown of civility in America.
Thanks for coming. I sure appreciate it. I've followed you for years. I want to just preface a little to say I'm 62, and in the era when I was born, Democrats and Republicans disagreed on policy, but they tended to read newspapers. They didn't expect to have news encapsulated in 30 seconds. How do we deal with, this is my main question, when we see mobs rising, we don't see intellectual debate, frankly, on either side too often. We see that talk radio works for Republicans and conservatives. It always fails with the liberals. And I conceive that it seems that we're on two different sides, emotional on the liberal side and hopefully remaining intellectual on the conservative side. Given that that's a juxtaposition that's never going to marry itself, we don't win when we give them intellectual arguments like this gentleman. He didn't want to hear what you had to say. He wouldn't give you 10 seconds. And he just wanted to emote. So how do we hope to win, where I'm glad to see so many young people here today, but as we look at the general tone, I don't see the majority of young people becoming more intellectually oriented. I see the emotional side winning. How do we get past that? When we make an educational question and they don't care, and they make an emotional question which frankly has nothing to do with the right or wrong answer, how do we get past that?
In my view, there are two things going on here that are separate, but they're linked. The first one is that in American politics in the 80s, as I remember it, Americans in general agreed on goals, but disagreed on means. When you agree on a goal, but disagree on the means, you can actually find common ground. Because you would say something like, we want America to be great. We want America to be strong. We want America to be rich. We want there to be a huge pie. We want America to be an example for the world. Now, we have disagreements. How should we carve up the pie? Should we intervene abroad unilaterally, or should we always make sure our allies go along with us? These were the kind of debates that would go on between, say, Reagan and Tip O'Neill. But the idea of bashing the country or dissing the flag kneeling for the anthem. The whole notion that American history is one succession of uninterrupted crimes created and visited upon people, this is a different thing. Now there's a breakdown of agreement on goals, because you have a group of people who say, what you could call traditional America, we actually see that as the enemy. We want to take that down. And then the other group goes, the hell you will. And so suddenly you now have a fight. That's point number one. The second point is that the reason for the breakdown of debate is because the left, which had a dominant position in the past, moved to an almost monopoly position and had no interest in hearing the other side. It's not that they're emotional and we're intellectual. Plenty of intellectuals on their side. There's a very smart historian named Kevin Cruz at Princeton. I've repeatedly told him, I'd like to debate you. We'll debate on your home campus in front of your students. You will have all the natural advantage of being on home ground. He won't do it. Why not? Because to him, he doesn't need to. He has those guys where he wants them. They're eating out of his hand. Why would he run the risk that I would come in and convince even 10%, let alone 50% of his students, that their professor doesn't know what he's talking about? He can't take that risk, so he won't do it. So it's not that he's not an intellectual. He's an intellectual with a monopoly podium, and he's determined to hold on to that power and not let me into the room unless and somehow I break in. And so it's going to be up to conservative students at Princeton to bring me to that campus, and that's when I can call them out, but I still can't do it in his classroom. He won't have it. Okay, next question.
One of these things is not like the others. One of these things doesn't belong. Can you tell which thing is not like the other by the time I finish this song?